Indiana Jones, It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute. This is the podcast where we desecrate church property with the film Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade 1 minute at a time. I'm Tom Taylor.
I'm Pete Bummert.
I'm Gerald Christopher, eagerly awaiting seeing Marcus in action, Porter.
And I'm Dr. Jamie. I'm an archaeologist.
Welcome back, Jamie. Our old friend
you.
from the Well of Souls and our old friend from... Wait, where were you in Temple of Doom? I totally forget.
That's rude, Tommy.
I was at the super awkward dinner where we talked about the
of course.
East India Company.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yes,
my God.
that's right.
And those great disguises.
And you legitimize our podcast.
You do.
Do I?
Yeah.
That's a lot to put on her, Jerry. That's I'm not sure she wants that.
Yeah. She's been properly vetted. We don't know what skeletons she has in the closet. That's an archaeology joke. Skeletons in the closet.
Hey. I keep them under my desk.
Oh, there you go.
Tom's the funniest guy on this show.
See?
Yeah.
Look at that.
I'm sorry, Pete.
Always talking about his mummy.
Yeah.
Geez.
That was classic.
That was quick too.
We all have like these little. We each have a humor meter over our heads right now, like on The Sims or something.
Yeah.
And
You're all going
it's
backwards.
flashing bright green.
You're bringing the whole thing together. That was last movie.
Anywho, let's see if we can keep this up for minute 31, which begins with Indy lifting up the broken marble slab from the library floor, and it ends with Indy and Elsa discussing pagan symbols on the walls of the catacombs under there. And I'm immediately annoyed at the beginning of this minute. I think there should be a new rule that you're not allowed to say the word bingo in a movie unless you are playing bingo. Indy lifts up that...
Well, now, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a
What?
minute. I want to go back to last minute here.
You can't do that. No.
Well,
only forward, Jerry.
And Pete, I think you're going to get this and dig it. We have 3, 7, 10.
Oh.
And then Indy smashes down on the free space.
Oh, wow.
Look at the floor, Tommy. Use your
No,
clues.
wait a minute.
Look at the floor.
Wait a minute.
They're playing.
No, but that's...
It's a bingo
No,
card.
but you have to have at least, no matter how you're playing, you have to have at least 5 numbers, right?
That's not how they did it in the Middle Ages.
Oh, really? Well, I don't know from the Middle Ages.
That's not how they played bingo.
Because they didn't play bingo. No one was playing bingo in the Middle Ages.
That's why do we need the archaeologist
No.
telling us about the Middle Ages?
Legitimacy.
I thought about it. He smashes right in the free space, and then, of course, bingo.
Well, why do you have to smash the free space?
B-I-N-G-O.
If you already have it, you don't have to smash it.
No, but he
guess he does.
He's that kid that when he wins
Yeah.
in checkers, he like knocks all your pieces off the board.
Yeah. I mean, we know that. It's
punctuates it.
emphatic.
Yeah.
When he says bingo, I immediately hear the line from Jurassic Park when they're like, Dino DNA. I can't hear that word without thinking of that.
Oh, my God.
Well, we get what I think is great is Elsa says, "You don't disappoint, Dr. Jones. You're a great deal like your father." And I love that we immediately get this double entendre that I don't think Indy's picking up on.
Oh, what?
To be fair, he wouldn't.
Wait, is that... Now, is that what she says?
Yeah.
I heard that you don't disappoint... Oh, God. All right.
Yeah.
I thought... I mean, Pete's going to... This is going to get cut out. But I thought you said, you don't disappoint, Dr. Jones. You're just like your father's. And then lower me down.
Yeah. Yeah, and then he accidentally drops her into the floor. He totally misunderstood what she was saying.
Hey, listen. I mean, I didn't have the closed caption on, But look, after you've seen this movie, once, okay, and you know what happens, little spoilers, it's a little creepy now every time you hear Elsa compare Indy to his father.
Well, Elsa's just f***ing with them. Sorry, I probably shouldn't say that word.
Yeah, no. In this case, it's literal.
Deeply offended.
Exactly.
Yes. As I always say when things sometimes get sexual and crude, we're just working with what the movie gives us.
That's right.
That's very true. Yeah.
Yes. They're the ones who set this up.
They're the ones who made her say, "Lower me down."
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, I like right before that, Indy gets very boorish, and he's like, "Except he's lost and I'm not."
Right. Screw that guy. Dumb old man. He'll never have a girlfriend.
But he's literally his message is, I don't get lost when I go holy grailing.
Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like what?
I don't spend my entire life doodling in a diary and then get lost. Not me.
he really is vindictive here.
Yeah, he's vindictive this whole
He
movie.
has really bad father issues.
He does. I mean,
Yeah.
give him a chance.
Yeah.
He's got a lot to work out. He's his dad's missing,
Yeah.
and he's got conflicting feelings and issues about that, and so he's going to be a little weirder than normal, even weirder than Indiana Jones.
Well, speaking about weirder than normal, does Indy prefer a woman like Elsa who dives right in and is excited to get into this adventure, or does he prefer someone like Willie who's scared and he has to protect?
That's a good question.
It's not even that's a simple question. It's very easy.
Really?
He prefers an Elsa, and I mean it's crystal clear. First of all, he comes at her from like second 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And she's aggressive, and as she is sort of confident and aggressive, we see that she's confident. Just from the start. He even amps it up. He goes from like gear 3 to gear 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's interesting, we've talked about Elsa being Indy's professional equal, and when Indy upends the capstone to the catacombs, she's kind of turned on.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, we'll get there, but
And they, we're in keeping with a little bit of the sexual theme here of this minute, like for the first time, she engages Indy with outstretched arms.
That's true. She's
Like-
letting him in.
Yeah, she's one might say she's as giddy as a schoolgirl.
Could be. And Indy's into that. Anyway.
Yeah.
I feel like they're like feeding off each other intellectually too.
Yeah, this is the first time he's been,
Yeah.
like even Marion, like her dad was a crazy archaeologist, but she wasn't like, in the know about any of this stuff.
she's
Yeah.
not into the same stuff.
But here he's
into.
got like somebody who's like, a doctor of this kind of stuff. Is she actually?
And is
she an
also
archaeologist?
beautiful. Yes.
She is beautiful, but I mean, she's an archaeologist. That's what her doctor is in.
I don't know if it's ever
Do we know that?
explicitly stated, but
Yeah,
I think it's
it
pretty,
seems like it. Yeah,
pretty inferred.
I mean, she could be a podiatrist, but
I mean, we should be
A podiatrist.
Jamie, we've been trying to. We've been with Elsa for like I don't know a week now or something, and we've been trying to kind of pin down. Like everyone loves Marion. Marion's the belle of the ball. No one's going to top
Right.
Marion. People are really split on Willie. A lot of people hate her guts. We started to kind of love her after a while in our own weird way.
I like Willie.
But
yeah.
I like Willie. Yeah, I think I kind of like Willie. But like Elsa is kind of not a non-entity, but she's like people don't talk about her. People don't like even put her in the rankings or anything. And we're trying to kind of pin down why. And for a moment like this, she's like without batting an eye or like ooh gross or anything. She's like lower me down. She's like she's not worried about her pumps or her jacket or anything. She's just like
Nope.
lower me down into the muck and the mire. Let's go check this thing out.
Yeah, she's doing the Ginger Rogers, everything Indy does, she's going to do in heels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds like a really good character, but yeah.
I think that we would have to get into some heavy spoilers to discuss why Elsa might not be universally beloved.
Jerry hasn't seen either of the
That's
movies
true.
yet,
I
so
haven't
we don't
seen
want
I
to
the
ruin
think
it.
I know what you're
movie yet.
alluding to, and that's actually
Well-
a really obvious point that I never actually thought of.
Yeah. Just say she's morally ambiguous.
True.
But that brings up the question: is there a difference between Elsa and Indy? If Indy were born in Austria or Germany, would he wind up doing the exact same thing that Elsa's doing?
Yes.
I think so too.
Yeah, Indy is morally ambiguous as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
look, he sneaks under the door as it's shutting and grabs his hat and lands on the right moral side.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You're like, fine, but I mean, the door was closing and he wasn't gonna make it,
Yeah.
and you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
He at the last second he turns
Yeah,
moral.
whatever government he belongs to is they're just footing the bill for his crazy adventures and
Right.
they're bureaucratic fools, and you'd have disdain for them anyway.
Right.
And yeah,
Though I feel like this movie has more of like Indy as like a moral defender of freedom character than the other two, because of
Yeah,
the
I think so,
sure.
too.
I don't know. Again, this is about like getting into later minutes, but there's some pretty overt scenes of evil Nazis, even more so
Yeah.
than there were in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Right. They're on their home
So-
turf.
Yeah.
Well, the Nazis is just kind of, set them up, knock them down. I mean,
If only it was that easy.
yeah.
No one ever lost a popularity contest by punching a Nazi.
So Elsa lands on the bones and she looks up and she's flushed.
Mm-hmm.
Like her face is flushed with excitement.
She's an archaeologist, guys.
Yeah. and yeah, it's true. But she sort of is turned on and she she's a little hot and bothered and somebody asked the question, is Indy like this? And I think right here Indy is definitely turned on because Elsa doesn't scream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean this is not your father's Willie.
Yeah.
or whatever. Or yeah, I didn't even mean it like that. Gee,
It worked, though.
this movie's it's just pitfalls everywhere.
Well done, Jerry. I like that.
I don't know.
I'm just thinking, though, Marianne is actually kind of squeamish, isn't she? Like, she'll punch a guy in the face and she'll break a bottle over somebody's head, but, like, she gets grossed out by snakes and zombies and stuff, and I wonder if...
To be fair, Indy's a little squeamish too sometimes.
That's true.
Yeah, he's afraid of snakes.
I'm just saying, though, that Elsa is like, she couldn't care less.
Yeah.
But she's appropriately so. And she also like when you think of when she's like Indy, the torch is running out. The torch is dying. It's like when she does it, you're like, well, she can't use it to fight the snakes.
Yeah.
She's originally shocked by the snakes, but you know that she's not overly dramatic about it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she doesn't strike me as squeamish. I mean, she owns that bar in
Yeah.
Nepal.
I guess
Yeah.
she's appropriately grossed out by gross things.
Right.
Yes, right. She's a Goldilocks grossed out.
Like Elsa's used to dealing with stuff like this. Elsa's like clearly used to field work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love how she like literally jumps in with both feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a different character than we've seen in these movies before for a female.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
She continues the tradition of being like a pretty filled out female character
Yeah.
who has like shades of ambiguity.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so, I mean, on paper, as you said this, Tommy, on paper, Elsa would be perfect for Indiana Jones.
Yeah. And a perfect character for an Indiana Jones movie.
Yes. They should be. They're a beautiful, perfect couple. But then she's got a butt,
Yeah.
right? I mean, isn't that when they say like everybody has a butt?
That's true, Jerry.
Hers is a pretty serious one.
She's got a big, huge butt. What? No.
She's
Oh my god, that woman is so thin. She's like a
I know.
size 0 or something.
Yeah.
I like though, as soon as she gets down to the bottom, Indy jumps down and then he immediately needs to show her that he's in charge.
Yeah.
And like he jumps down after her, but then he gets down like a step lower and he's like, come on.
Yeah.
I'll show you the way. I've never been here either.
Yeah. And then he kind of
Yeah.
lifts her up and puts her down like, hey, what are you
Yeah.
waiting for?
That's
Come
kind
on.
of the indie from the comic books, actually, isn't it?
wow.
We've been talking about them on the
Yeah.
Patreon show, and he doesn't have that Harrison Ford charm in those things, but he's got similar attributes like this. But one
Yeah.
thing before they
Yeah.
get into the hole, before Indy jumps down, there's one thing, like just before we started recording, I noticed this for the first time in my life. Indy's handing the diary to Marcus, and as he does that, he takes out what we later find out is the rubbing from the stone. Which I guess, we'll talk about this more later, but I just never noticed that he had that. I'm like, wait, is the diary in his pocket right now getting soaked? Like when he's later on when fire and stuff and everything.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so I just never noticed this one little detail that he actually.
Oh
grabs
yeah.
the
He
thing.
gives it to Marcus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's interesting because at first it looks like he's taking out that marriage statistics from the future
Yeah.
page.
I'm going to be rich with these future statistics for marriage.
You know what's great is just like in Temple of Doom, right at the entrance to these catacombs, we have another Mo and Joe googly eye.
Yeah.
Like, and they show them, but I mean, these guys don't have their eyes.
Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, maybe the Mo and Joe googly eye, that's kind of collectible if they keep their eyes. But I mean, the important thing is, whether romantic or platonic, we have another couple that faced death together.
Yeah.
What's their story? You know, what's it like?
I'm sure
Why
there's a comic
is
book.
the tomb? Why is their tomb the welcome mat?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah.
Like everybody. I mean, the whole point of the catacombs is like, no, they're neatly filed against the walls.
Well,
So, well, I mean, these guys. I don't think these skeletons that we first see at the welcome mat skeletons are buried knights. Or
No.
I don't think they're the early Christians. I think they may have been grave robbers or something trying to get out. Or
Exactly. That's the image
Yeah.
I have. They're like two masons who got closed in there or something. They just killed each other trying to scramble out of there or something.
what if they're just plague victims who were just kind of thrown down there?
Oh.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
Though we can discuss the realistic status of these catacombs whenever you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
we've
right.
mentioned that a little
You
bit.
have to ruin our fun. We're just trying to watch a movie.
I'm here to
for crying
ruin
out
things
loud.
with science. That's why you bring me on.
Okay. That's the best way to ruin
Yeah.
Speaking of ruining things, did any of you guys get a little, like when Indy descends into the catacombs? Do you guys get a little map room homesick?
Oh,
It's like
yeah,
a,
that'd be
a
nice.
circular hole with the sunlight shining
Yeah.
through.
And we just had
Yeah.
that map room, blowing dust out of a thing.
Yeah.
Yep,
The dust.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really do kind of breadcrumb you along here.
Yeah.
With it's not white bread, maybe it's wheat bread, but they're
Right.
still taking you right back to Raiders and hitting your Raiders comfort zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which might be a mistake. But okay, let's move along.
But yeah, Jamie, we've discussed a little bit the impossibility of there being catacombs underground, which would be underwater in
Right.
Venice, beneath these mud flats, basically.
Yeah, and a lot of the things that Indy says during this minute, where he's talking about like pagan symbols from the 4th or 5th century, and then he's talking about like 600 years before the Crusades. I actually just read a paper today that just came out in December that's trying to set an early date for Venice, because Venice, kind of uniquely among Italian cities, doesn't have a Roman past. Even though
weird.
Venetians for a long time tried to invent one to make themselves seem more important. But the earliest written records for Venice are about from the 800s, basically, when supposedly St. Mark's relics came and were buried in St. Mark's Basilica, which was then built over where the relics were. And in this new paper, they had some radiocarbon dates on some sediment cores that they took from under the piazza of San Marco, which is where the basilica is. And they found activity for the late 600s to early 700s. And so that seems like some of the earliest dates we have for the settlement of Venice. That's a little earlier than these pagan symbols, 4th or 5th century. Who knows what that's supposed to be?
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious because the legend that the Venetians they have the two legends. The one legend is that the three guys from
Right.
Padua came and started the city, but then the other legend is that they came to escape the Huns and they built this kind of these reed houses out in the lagoon so the Huns couldn't capture them, and they kind of kept going on there. And I'm curious if they can be pushed back that far eventually, like if there's some possibility that there's something in that.
This paper seemed to think that, which admittedly is just a single paper, but it seemed to think that there would have been too much water, like they still had to move around where the canals were and things like that. Some of the other areas around Venice, like north of Venice, has some Roman activity. And then south of Venice, if you look at the map, there's that really long island, like long and skinny, kind of shaped like New Zealand, which is on the south part. And that area was probably settled. But like the center of Venice, like San Marco and that area, was almost certainly underwater or not a large enough space to build on. So, yeah.
I don't understand what significance does the line have? I mean,
What line?
the line. I'm sorry, pagan symbols, 4th or 5th century. Yeah, and and I'm thinking, yeah, maybe I don't know, BC. Like, why would we have pagan symbols?
Well, supposedly after the fall of Rome, all of Europe descends into this like barbarian pagan time, which is not really true, but that was the popular conception. That's definitely what Indy in the 1930s would have thought
Oh, interesting.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
of like the Dark Ages, you know.
They're accurate about inaccuracies in this movie.
I thought maybe they just threw that line in there again to show that Elsa is Jones' professional equal.
I think so.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, she can identify stuff.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
so.
Even if they're the fact that they're both making stuff up really makes her easy.
I think it's the 11 billionth BC pagan symbol.
Well, why? I mean, it just does that line serve us later? Is it like, oh, the Knight Templar? They were, you know, they kind of had these pagan rituals. I don't know. Does that come into play at all?
No, I think Indy says like either Indy or Elsa says Christians would have dug their own passages and burial chambers centuries later.
Yeah.
So I think that we're
Yeah.
supposed to believe that they're in a pagan area of the catacombs, and then when they break
Right.
through the wall,
Yeah,
they enter this Christian area.
on the good side.
Yeah, it's like they go through time. It's got like the pagan
Yeah.
area, the Jewish area, and then the Christian
it's like
area.
Epcot
Right.
Center.
You know, I'm glad we have an archaeologist on here because is there a pagan era of catacombs? I thought like
The Etruscans built catacombs.
Yeah,
wouldn't that be
catacombs
a cave?
are pretty. Well, if it's naturally formed, sure. But like Pete said, the Etruscans, who were definitely what we would call pagan, dug out catacombs, and so did tons of other civilizations.
Okay. And then maybe they built the church over the pagan catacombs. And then they expanded.
Yeah,
The Christians, they had an add-on.
right.
Yeah.
Like there's lots of like reuse of pagan sites to become Christian
Yeah.
churches.
They gentrified.
That's a good way to describe it. I like that.
Subdivision.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the St. Mark thing. The Venetians kind of in the early 9th century, they really wanted to show that they had like a church and a city that could compete with anybody, but they needed first-class prestigious relics. So this dude, Giustiniano Participazio, went to Egypt and he bribed a couple of Egyptian monks at a cemetery where St. Mark was buried, or where they thought St. Mark was buried. And they took his body and they hid it in a bunch of baskets of pork so they could get it through customs in Egypt.
Wow.
And brought it back to Venice. And then they said, hey, this is St. Mark. And then they built St. Mark's over it, or the original St. Mark's. But that was like, I don't know how much truth there is in that, but that's their origin story of how St. Mark's came to be.
Crazy.
Yep. The whole like all the stories about acquiring relics are just delightful. They're so good.
But it sounds like something that people would talk about today. Like, oh, let's hide it in pork.
Right.
Like, it's just like so like such a middle finger.
Yep.
We got to cut that out. Pete said middle finger.
Yeah. And pork. Hey, I have a really good question, by the way, that I don't think we asked this last week. Where's Indy's hat?
Well,
Was he wearing it when he got to Venice?
He was wearing it when they got off the boat and met Elsa and walked over to the church. The church library.
But as soon
yeah.
as he gets into the library, he doesn't have it
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a hat rack.
Maybe
by
he
the door,
takes it
but-
off
yeah.
inside. I don't know.
So like after the boat chase later on, he's like, oh, I gotta stop by the library. Hang on. Where's my coat check? Oh, I don't have my ticket anymore. Oh God.
But it's the same thing with what happens to his hat when he's in the map room. Like, does he wad it up and put it in his pocket? Or
Yeah.
It's like a magical hat.
It is.
But
God
there
bless him.
should be. I mean, being consistent, there should be a hat that appears on his head right now, because he just went from like sort of basically what was a bookworm to fieldworm.
Professor Jones.
Yeah. He just the adventure has just taken a more serious turn in terms of grave robbing instead of the classroom.
It'd be fun if it was like Batman and he just goes as he jumps down, he like lands as Indiana Jones. Like he's
Exactly.
got his jacket,
Yeah.
his hat, and his
Yeah.
whip, yeah.
Yep.
But it's interesting, like, again, and we've talked about this in other movies, but I think the supreme irony here is that if Indiana Jones were just to stop and investigate the fact that he had found ancient catacombs under Venice, he would have been far richer and far more famous than if he had found, like, eventually a Holy Grail. Like this, I mean, this would have been bigger than Howard Carter finding King Tut's tomb. This would have been,
Poor
I think
Indy.
this would have been a huge deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I read that there wasn't because of the water table situation, there was no archaeological excavation anywhere in Venice until the late 1980s.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was alive
So
then.
Indy would have been the first.
Wow.
It wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
I'm trying to imagine, how would you do that in Venice? I mean, would you dredge the river?
They've done like very limited stuff, and they've done a lot of cores, like soil cores.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of work.
It's actually pretty fun to take soil cores, honestly.
Oh, yeah?
What?
Yeah.
Why? Why?
You have like a device and like a big.
No, I don't mean it like that. I'm saying, yeah, like what do you get when you do it?
So you get a cylindrical cross section of soil that goes down through as many layers as you can get, as depth you can go. And then you can look at each layer and you find tons of interesting stuff in there. Like that's the same thing with ice cores, like how we know a lot about climate change is from ice core records, because you can look at the layers over time.
So do you find out sort of what the air was like because the dust or the dirt is settling?
Yeah, you can find out a ton of stuff. Like you can find out like pollen, so what kind of plant life was in the area. You might find things like dung from animals, or even like little tiny artifacts like beads and stuff like that. And then you can do more like chemistry stuff. You can look at different isotopes of oxygen, which tell us about basically like climate has to do with like what the atmosphere was like at the time and things like that.
And then how large is the screw?
There's a whole wide range of them. I can't even tell you. Like those Greenland ice cores ones are like hundreds of feet long.
Oh, wow.
That's huge.
Yeah. The ones, I've used them in lakes, and we've done like 3-foot or 5-foot ones.
Wow, where?
In Iceland.
Oh, that'd be fascinating.
Yeah.
My wife and I recently took DNA tests.
Oh, did you do 23andMe?
Yeah, 23andMe.
Me.
And one of her surprise findings was that they trace her back to Doggerland.
Oh, nice.
Which is like the former civilization kind of when there was land between the UK and like the Netherlands and Denmark. And all of a sudden became very interested in it. And, looking at it, some of the archaeology that they did underwater is pretty amazing. Like the stuff that they found and the stuff that they're still finding is incredible.
And speaking of Alexandria, there has been a ton of maritime archaeology and underwater archaeology around Alexandria Harbor because, the Nile like silts up that area. And so the shape of the harbor has changed a lot over time. Highly recommend looking that up if you're interested.
Cool.
They had that great exhibit at the British Museum last couple of years. The
Yes.
underwater stuff.
Yeah. So there's some real archaeology.
We appreciate that.
Finally.
If you're interested in catacombs, I recommend Paris and Rome. Both have amazing catacombs, which are similar to the kind that you're seeing Indy and Elsa in here. But they would be impossible for Venice.
And what's the famous one that's in Italy? That's it's like, is it in a monastery?
I think you're probably thinking of Rome.
There's one that's I think maybe still a working monastery, and they just have the monks. The monks are sort of I mean, if you like, they're still out.
All right, I'm gonna look this up.
You know what I'm talking about? There's that room with the monks. Oh, Pete, come on. Don't let me wither here and die.
We're all
you know what
turning
I'm
our backs.
talking about?
No.
All right, I'm
Joe, you
gonna
disgust
look
me.
it up. I'll get back to you.
I'm going to find it for next minute. Yeah, for tomorrow. Yeah, it's the famous one in Italy, and the monks, and they let them sort of decay, and they...
Oh, yeah,
The Capuchin Monastery in Palermo.
There you go. That's, of course. That's what I was talking about.
You
That's
had to
it.
let him twist like that, didn't you? That was cool.
Yes, I just
Poor
let
guy.
him twist while I Googled it.
Those guys are awesome, though. Those are like the guys that were wearing their robes and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not nuts, right?
And like kind of in that like Southern Catholic Europe region. Like in the Balkans you find it too. Like in Assisi there's like 3 preserved corpses in the cathedral, which are creepy as hell, but pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because you have this whole idea of like the body needing to be preserved and saintly bodies not decaying.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the Vatican, there's a bunch of popes who are supposedly incorruptible.
If you dunk them in the right stuff, then yeah. Help them out. Yeah.
Oh, Tommy. That's a blasphemer.
I'm sorry.
This is totally far afield, but can I tell you guys a weird thing about incorruptible bodies?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Or not really incorruptible bodies, but in the Middle Ages, a lot of people were into being buried in lead coffins, which basically formed like an oxygenless zone, so the bodies wouldn't decay. And then
wow.
during the Victorian period in England, people got really interested in the Middle Ages with like the Romantic movement and stuff. And so they got really interested in opening the lead coffins of medieval people and observing them as oxygen ate their features.
Oh my God.
Within like 10 or 15 minutes, their bodies would decay.
Wow.
And so there's these great Victorian accounts of them being like, oh, I gazed upon this like 800-year-old Norman prince, and he was really beautiful for like 2 minutes. Then his eyeballs
man.
fell out.
Oh, you're kidding.
Like,
That's a total Steven Spielberg thing.
That is.
I know. When I
Like
think
3 different
about
movies.
the scene at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, I think about these bodies in their lead coffins.
Oh, that's amazing.
That strikes me as
Wow.
like a Tupperware party.
Yeah, really.
You know what I mean?
But how obnoxious to do that before like film was invented.
Yeah.
Right.
At least.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, come on over on Saturday.
You can see a few pictures, I want to say, like very old pictures
Wow.
of like right as the coffin is opened.
Crazy.
God, tea and
Yeah.
crumpets and decay
Yeah.
for everybody.
That's you nailed the Victorians right there.
Oh yeah. Listen, I think it's safe enough to say they were a little weird. It was a weird time. A little weird.
Unlike our time, which is perfectly normal.
Oh yeah. We make tons of sense.
Yeah, we decay naturally. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I definitely want to look up these pictures, but I'm scared. I'm scared to look up pictures ever since necrotic spider bites.
Yeah,
and
you're gonna
Temple of
regret
Doom
it.
got
Oh God. These are
Yeah.
going to be kind of gross too, but they're worth it.
me. Okay.
Well, before Pete
Yeah.
goes and discusses himself with some research, does anybody else have anything for minute 31?
Oh, hey.
Oh?
Speaking of things decaying.
Oh, whoa.
Speaking of
Go on.
pumps and
Telegraph machine busted?
yeah, no. Wait a minute. This just in from Professor Christy Porter.
Hey.
Why do I know more about Elsa's saddle shoes than the pagan symbols? Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Why
well,
indeed?
The pagan symbols
Yeah.
are fake.
Ah.
And the saddle shoes were real. We had to wear them in Catholic school.
Yep.
Yep. So.
Well, Jamie, can you join us again tomorrow for minute 32?
Yeah, I think so. I'll try
That
to
would be
think of some
beautiful.
more interesting history things to say.
All right. And until then, is there anything you want to tell the people about yourself or where they can find you or what you're working on?
I have a non-archaeology related podcast that is called Radio Clash Revival. And it's a revival of the radio show that I did in grad school when I was becoming an archaeologist. And it's just a music and book review show. You can look it up
Awesome.
on SoundCloud. It's called Radio Clash Revival.
Nice. Well, everybody check that out. Everybody check us out online. You can join us over on Facebook at the Indiana Jones Minute and the Listeners Crusade. That's our group over there where you can chat with us and your fellow Indiana Jones Minute listeners and have a ball. And
It's really fun.
while you're doing that, it is really fun. Jamie's over there, Pete, Jerry, me, others. But join us over there, and please join us here tomorrow for minute 32 of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade here on the Indiana Jones Minute. Bingo!